All right, we're back here again in an undisclosed location. This is Dustin Sherman with Forgotten Freedoms. Today I'm actually going to be sitting here with Nathan Marshall for the first episode. There's going to be two podcasts today. There's going to be Nathan, and then I will have Randy Sultan a little bit later. So please tune in and watch. But Nathan is with me right now, and this is Nathan. Say hi, Nathan.
Hey everyone.
So we're going to discuss a little bit about Anchorage politics and just kind of have a conversation. So, Nathan, what got you kind of getting into the politics here in Anchorage? I know you're a younger person, and we don't see that all that often. So I'm just kind of wondering what enthralled you into getting involved in the assembly and your local mayor's race and stuff like that.
Well, I will start by saying I never wanted to. I did not want to be involved in politics at all. It was just too disgusting, honestly, to put it bluntly. I watch the news a lot, or I used to watch the news a lot, and I noticed like all the Republicans and Democrats in Washington, they'd have fights about everything. Just anything and everything under the sun they could think of. They'd fight back and forth. And then when I started seeing it on a local level, and I noticed how it was affecting the community, affecting my family, my friends, I wanted to do something. I wanted to get involved a little bit more and think, well, there are things we can do as a community to maybe fight back against, things that aren't necessarily just or made sense to us. So I wanted to see if there was any way I could help out.
That's a great thing about this country is anybody can get involved. It doesn't take it doesn't take a lot of time for the most part here in Anchorage. The assembly meets once every other week. Our school board meets every other week, usually on opposite weeks. So Anchorage is a little bit behind everywhere else. We have usually a few years. When I left 10 years ago, moved down to California, Anchorage was nothing like it is now. And I thought coming back I'd get lucky and skip the politics, but apparently that didn't happen. So if you were to tell, let me ask you this: Have you spoken politics to folks your age? And what if you have? What is their feedback or what's their thoughts?
I think a political conversation usually happens between me and somebody about twice or three times my age. If I do talk to somebody my age, majority of the time will get a differing opinion. I don't really know anybody that's on, the same side of the political spectrum as I am. So I try to keep those conversations to a minimum,
Right.
with people my age. So
Now, when you look at the political sphere here in Anchorage, where do you think you sit? Do you think you sit conservative, liberal, or Democrat, or libertarian? Where do you find yourself?
I thought I was Republican, but after a little bit more soul searching, I'm leaning more towards conservative.
Okay, so Republican is typically conservative.
Yeah.
They have conservative values. They're fiscally conservative, that kinds of things.
I had to look up the political spectrum on Google just to see what sits where. Conservative is further right, as far as I know, than a Republican.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing is over the years, a lot of people claim that the parties have switched and gone back and forth. And my mother-in-law is actually what I would consider a classic Democrat. She's not the crazy ones with all the crazy ideas, and she doesn't look at things and lead or make decisions based on emotion. She actually does some thinking.
Okay, so she's back in the times when the last great Democrat was Kennedy.
Yes,
John
JFK.
Kennedy.
Yep. That's one of the biggest problems that I think in politics now is we have too much emotion involved into it, and it makes people irrational. And that's, I think that there's a good case of that with a lot of the decisions that the assembly makes. And honestly, I think that an assembly, a good assembly, would be a balanced assembly. If you look at it this way, you could have 4 on the left, 4 on the right, and 1 in the middle, or something along those lines. Because then you got someone that can break ties. You have someone, you've got a chance to have an argument and a solution to that argument. And some people can jump across and back and forth. The problem is we don't have none of that, and we don't even have any of that in Congress. And for the federal government, it's all one party or the other. And I hate to say it, but the people are suffering. So, what's your thoughts on the whole COVID situation and the mask mandates? And I know you've been to the assembly a few times and testified and railed on them for that. And so, give me your thoughts on the mask mandates and the vaccines, if you don't mind.
Mandates for anything. It's not. I don't care what your views are on mandates. Not you, just everybody. I don't think anything should be forced upon you. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Look around in this city when we don't have a mandate. How many people still wear a mask? I mean, since there's no mandate, obviously they're making that choice on their own to wear one.
Correct.
So, there's lots of people who still do, and I don't want to be told to do it, or I don't get allowed into a place.
Well, unfortunately, in the situation that we're in right now, we find ourselves in, COVID's going to be stuck. We're stuck with it.
Oh, it's here forever.
It's a disease that is not going anywhere anytime soon, and I think that the more we resist it, the more detrimental it is to society, the more detrimental it is to each individual person. Because when you look at it, I think most people have anxiety about it, and I've had anxiety about it. I mean, my wife almost died from it last November. You don't have anxiety about something until something like that happens to you, and then it just kind of builds up. And there's all kinds of different things, long COVID, where people have had health situations after they've had COVID. I've had a few people that I work with that have still got some issues, but they're getting through them. I think that it's something that this country's never seen before, and I think unless we pull together somehow and come to some kind of normal, non-emotional consensus, I think we're better off. So, who's your favorite 2 assembly members? Or I don't want to say 2. Who's your favorite assembly members?
Is that even a question?
Yeah.
Jamie Allard.
What about Crystal Kennedy? You like Crystal?
I don't really know much about her, but from what I've heard, from what I've been told, she usually is fairly reasonable to talk to and have a discussion with about certain things without throwing too much of her own emotion into it.
Now, have you done any researching on the assembly members that are going to be up for election and who's running against them?
No, I haven't. I do know that Jamie Allard is running for House, right? House Representative. So if she does, which I'm pretty sure she will, win that, we do lose her on the assembly, right?
Yeah, she has another year left, basically, so it would be like next April.
All right. So I have not looked into anybody who's running for the assembly. I probably should.
So the 3 conservative candidates that I know of for sure are Stephanie. Oh my Lord, I'm gonna kick myself in the butt for forgetting. We got Randy Soll, which will be here later today.
Yep.
We have Stephanie. Oh my Lord, I can't believe I can't remember her last name. Stephanie, I'll come up with it here in just a second. And we also have Kathy Hensley. Those are the 3 that are running. Those are the big 3, I would say. And then I think that there's another one running against Cameron Perez Padilla, and that is I can't remember, Liz something. And I haven't heard too much about her, so I'm not real sure how she's going to do. Or Cameron's been in his district for a while, so I think there's 4 or 5 seats up for election this year. So, the conservative side is looking to pull the resources into the three big ones, which is, man, I cannot remember Stephanie's last name. I don't know what is up with me this morning. Maybe it's because I worked late last night.
I mean,
Stephanie Flynn Taylor, that's who it is.
God willing, they do take the seat, bring a lot of balance to the assembly that we've needed for a long time.
So, tell me about some of your other hobbies and things. I know that you're a big gun advocate here in Anchorage. You teach gun safety and you teach some move and shoot type stuff. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I work for a company called Spectre Tactical. It's a limited liability that we teach basic pistol and rifle self-defense for the everyday average Joe. We're not trying to get too overly tactical with things. We more teach just the fundamentals, and we do everything from the most basic, someone who's never picked up a gun in their life, all the way to the most well-trained individual. And even those who are up in that level are still learning. I'm still learning. My boss is still learning. All of my coworkers are still learning. We learn every day. Okay.
Well, that's how, I grew up in Colorado where we used to hunt and fish a lot. So guns have always been a part of my life. Of course, I've done some stuff down in California where I did a lot of training with members of SWAT, a lot of military members, and built some guns. And I just exercised my Second Amendment. And I think that everybody has the right to protect themselves. And I think that anybody out there that doesn't see that are completely fooling themselves, especially if you look at places like Australia that just had a bunch of lockdowns. And, if the lockdowns couldn't happen here in America because we have guns. People that would go out and try and lock Americans down would probably end up really regretting it.
And Washington knows that.
Yes. And most of the other countries also know that.
Yeah.
So, you're not going to see NATO come in here and try and bully around Americans because, honestly, there's more of us than there are of them. And, I think that guns, honestly, is one of the reasons we've never been invaded. We've never had an actual, since the Civil War, we've never actually had a real war here on the homeland. And I thank God for that. I don't want to see that. But as things go on, we're getting closer and closer to having that happen again. Unfortunately, history is kind of repeating itself slowly. And
to be honest, I'm very surprised that it hasn't happened yet. Honestly, with the way people have, just let their emotions run wild.
Right.
And just this massive split, right to left, good versus evil, logic versus stupid. I mean, it's
I like that, logic versus stupid.
It's gone out of control, and I am somewhat surprised that we have not had somewhat of a civil/revolutionary war yet.
Right. Well, I know that if we have something major happen, then right now our military is stretched extremely thin. I think someone's knocking at our door over there. I probably ought to go check. Let me check here real quick. I will be right back, folks. If you want to say anything, go ahead. I think my other guest may have just showed up, so let me take a look.
Forgive me if I'm stumbling. I hate public speaking. This counts because I have an audience. Politics in and of itself is something it's horrible to think about, but you have to think about it in this world anymore. It's a part of life, and you can't avoid it. It's gonna happen from young to old, anywhere in between. It's just a normal.
Apologize for the dead air there.
I kept it somewhat live.
Okay, good. I will I will edit out some of that. No, I think it's we're having we're having kind of an identity crisis here in the country. That's the best way to put it. You know, we're not acting like the America that I grew up in. We're acting more like, I would hate to say this, but one half of us is acting like the French. And I'm not saying anything bad about the French, but they're very passive. They're very passive aggressive a lot of times. And again, they're leading through emotion, and emotion is not a good way to really lead the nation. And unfortunately, that's kind of the Biden's administration's go-to, is they want to get everybody panicked and make everybody lash out at one another and turn neighbor on neighbor and all that kind of stuff. We're seeing that a lot, but unfortunately, it is what it is. We have a few years left with Mr. Biden, but here locally, we have a good chance to change things. So that's what we're working on right now, and hopefully, we can make something happen and get the assembly flipped and put some good candidates in there and get them on their assembly so that they make actually some rational decisions. So let me ask you this. We talked a little bit about guns and stuff like that. What's your favorite gun? Your favorite pistol, how about that?
Probably my everyday carry pistol is a Glock 48 MOS.
Okay, how about rifle?
Rifle, I've not done too much with rifle. I'm kind of just getting into it myself. I'm a rookie with rifle.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a Diamondback DB15 that I'm kind of, modifying a bit. An AR is like a Lego. You can just build it any way you want.
That's a good thing about that platform, and I think that's why it's the most popular gun on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And the liberals are always screaming and hollering about.
Assault weapon is a make-believe term. That is not true.
Yeah,
That's not a thing.
the AR actually stands for Armalite rifle. That's actually was a brand.
First brand to produce the rifle.
Yes. So anyone out there that is on the liberal side of things, AR does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for Armalite rifle. It always has, and it was built originally, I think, back in the 60s.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So
it's not a weapon of war. It may look like one, but it's not. It's completely different operation from the modern M4 that's used in the military.
yeah, and it actually has different parts in it. The selector switch is different. There's a whole lot of different things that, for one, we can't legally buy them.
Nope.
You have to have a special permit to own anything that would be a machine style weapon. And most conservatives, most people that would have guns at all, are going to abide by the law, and they're not going to go out there and modify their weapon to shoot anything like that. That being said, there are things that you can buy legally to make them more fun, not necessarily more lethal. But
Fun is a subjective word. You can take that and run with it however you want.
well, nowadays you can't really even have a lot of fun because you can't afford to have a lot of fun.
No.
The bullets and stuff with the Biden administration in there, the bullets and stuff are. It's like you buy a bunch of bullets and you've got gold. So, well, do you have anything else you want to add to this?
We could talk a little more about COVID, how it's affected.
Yeah, you had COVID, right?
I did back in September. I had it for just under a week and a half, I think. It surprised me how quick it came on. I had a sore throat for about 2 days, and then on the third day I woke up and I had the worst sore throat I've ever had, and a fever of 102, which lasted for 4 days, and I was living on ibuprofen.
And Gatorade. I think we brought you some Gatorade or some.
Yeah, that and Pedialyte and stuff like
Pedialyte,
that, which did help me rehydrate. I just felt tired, like completely worn out. I would sleep for 12, 14 hours a day.
Right. Yeah, that's a. I had it. I've had it a couple times, and looks like we're losing our signal a little bit here. We got a little bit weaker Wi-Fi today than we've had in a while, so I apologize about that. But our audio is still going, so I'll be able to put that up once we're done anyway. But COVID is something that it sneaks up on people. We had a gentleman that I worked with that spent almost a month in the hospital from it. Mm-hmm. We've lost activists here in town that died from it. It's not a joke at all. We obviously know it's real, but we also know that there's never been a virus that we've ever exterminated. in this country
No,
either.
I mean, look, we've had influenza since, before the Great Depression. And it's stuck with us since then. And we manage it every year. It took about 5 to 10 years to, I guess for lack of a better term, tame down. And it's normal in life now to have it like maybe once every year, once every 2 years or so.
Right.
I mean, and I actually had I had strep throat and a head cold that came in November, so 2 months after I had COVID, and that hit me harder than COVID did.
Right.
It knocked me out harder than I thought it would.
Well, I've had the flu once, so this is weird. I've actually been more sick this year than I've probably been sick in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's just COVID's done it and opened up my body to different things, which is another reason I didn't really want to take the vaccine, honestly, because every time you introduce any new drug to your system, I know this because I've had different things that happen. I have a mild form of lupus, and you have to take certain drugs to eliminate swelling in your body when you have lupus. And that was caused from I got lupus because I had a gallbladder situation, and I went jaundice for a few days. And when you go jaundice, it damages your liver, or it's a symptom of your liver going bad. And when the liver goes bad, I don't drink anything. I maybe have a beer once a year or every other year, not very often. And when you have certain drugs that affect your liver, like I can't take Norco. I've had surgeries a few times. I can't take Norco because it affects my liver. And that's one of the reasons I decided not to do the vaccine stuff, is because I don't know what it's going to do to my body. So I know that COVID was not super easy to survive, but my body did fight it off. And, I would be considered a comorbidity, but the first 2 times I had it, I've been fine. I haven't really had any long-lasting effects other than maybe a dry cough for, an extra week or 2.
I mean, after I started to recover from COVID, I had a really bad cough that lasted for almost a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have asthma. It's not active anymore. I used to live on an inhaler every day when I was about 7, 8, 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that anymore, but the cough stuck around for a while. That's another reason why I'm not going to get vaccinated, is because I don't know how that will. I mean, I haven't consulted a doctor yet, and I probably will if I need if I end up needing to get it, and I really don't want to, but I want to know how it affects me having asthma and if it will cause anything else. Because the flu is kind of like a head and chest infection. COVID is just a respiratory infection.
Primarily, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm surprised it didn't hit me harder since I have asthma.
Right.
But I know people who have had it and they fought it, just fine, but then weeks or months later, they end up with, serious breathing problems and things like that. And I know people who are double, triple, whatever you want to call it, vaccinated, and they still got it.
Yep.
They still get it.
I actually know 2 people now. I've known some that were triple vax and got sick. I've actually know 2 or 3 people now that had their full vaccinations and ended up in the hospital and are still in the hospital. So it's not a foolproof thing, and I hate to say it, but our president misrepresented that really badly earlier in the year. So
I feel like a vast majority of Americans would have no problem getting vaccinated if 2 things were different. 1, we weren't forced to,
yep,
and 2, if it was definitely taken more time to test and develop thoroughly before releasing it to the public. I mean, it took them 5 to 7 years to produce the influenza vaccine.
Yep. And had a lot of side effects on the very first few that were put out there. Well, Nathan, I have another guest that's waiting to come on, and I know that I'm hoping to have you back on again, hopefully maybe in a round table.
Okay.
Have more than a few people on. It'd be kind of nice. But I appreciate you coming by today.
Thanks for
and
having
if you want to hang out and watch Randy while we're doing this, that's fine.
Sure.
If nothing else, you'll get to know who he is, and he's in our district because we're in the same district.
Okay.
It might be a good shot for you to cast a ballot for him. So I would listen to what he's got to say, and we can go from there.
Alrighty.